It's always good to catch up with you. And before we get into the Washington football team and some thoughts there, I did want to start with Sam Huff's memorial because you said you went there, and I'm just curious what you took away from that and how that went. And that was, I believe that was on Monday of this week. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone is entitled to deal with life and death based on their religion, based on their beliefs. For me, it's a celebration of someone's life. And it's hard enough just living. You can mourn just living in our society. So it was good because every speaker has a great story. Also, it allows you to see people like I hadn't seen Frank Herzog in many moons, and Ernie Bauer, just seeing people that in our industry, we are a clique.
Yeah.
And that clique, for however long you're in, quote, office, we see each other like our family. We actually see you as much, if not more than family. Mm-hmm. So when that is cut off for whatever reason, there is a huge void. And so when seeing those faces again and those people, I hadn't seen Chuck Sapienza in a couple of years. And here's a guy I saw every day of my life for a long period of time. So it's just like with you and me, the connections are there.
Yeah.
And I could do nothing but celebrate because all the good times we have, because our industry is not one really of, we don't cover like murders and stuff like the news. Most of ours, even though our subject can be horrible because the team doesn't win, it's not tragedy.
Right.
We can make it seem that way, but we're just kidding ourselves.
At the end of the day, it's sports.
Yeah.
It's just entertainment. What did Sam mean to this franchise? Obviously, probably more so as a broadcaster, as a player. But what did you think he meant here?
I just fact that the guy, for me, it was huge because he was in business. I knew Sam from as much as the Marriott, as being a player here. I knew him as a giant megastar.
Right.
So it was layers of that. So and he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And so the stories about Jim Brown and him in West Virginia, his father, we talked about him as a coal miner, just sheer toughness. Sam, to me, was always a linebacker. He didn't have to be in uniform. That's how he lived. But he was a high IQ guy.
Yeah.
And the connection for me, because I've always been a guy looking for life after the game, because I say, wait a minute, this is temporary. Why is everybody throwing everything into this and you die young? So he was with the Marriott, and I was, because I like the fact that they have the big ironing boards. So if you're over 6'2" or so, and you go in a place and they give you that little baby thing, I hate that. Marriott always stayed with the big ironing board. So I got a chance through Sam and to meet people in the organization, sharing those stories. So we had a business type connection as well. And that's what I just always enjoyed the guy. He was a mega star who didn't talk down to you.
Right.
Just person to person. Yeah, I appreciate that because there's some real jerks in our business.
Yes,
they really are. And I would say it if I felt it. But the guy was a tough guy that I enjoyed, treated me fine. And I'm in their room with Sonny, Sam, and Frank.
Yeah.
As a puppy, as a broadcaster, they could have high-sided me. They could have, but they didn't. And Sonny's the life at any party. But Sam and I, we were good.
And, it's funny because they had that click where it was just, it always felt like two crazy uncles or whatever, talking at the bar, just going back and forth about the game in a knowledgeable way. But that's what made their chemistry fun on the radio.
Yeah. And Herzog, that's a tough job. He navigated that thing, man. I mean, it was amazing. Plus, working in news, I knew Frank on a different level, because I was with George. And then with Brenner before that. So I just almost everybody in that room, we had cross connected. And then our former players, seeing Brig Owens, my hero. So I get to see it. These are things in life. Just as we celebrate a birth, I celebrate someone's departure in honor, or I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't be fake.
Yeah, and he lived his life a certain way that was worthy of celebrating, absolutely, without doubt. And I will say on a different note, Doc, I'm okay with those smaller the ironing boards, they fit me okay. So I haven't had to worry
No,
about the,
give
I
me the
can't worry.
big one.
Yeah,
Go Marriott.
the problems of the 6'2" guys they don't pertain to me. So, but I do think that's, but the Marriott is, people, and he also owns some horses out in Middleburg. So,
well, yeah, and also going out to Middleburg and going out, and the fact that his love of the horses, and we've been out to the track, and we've had luncheons, we've had a number of different things. The fact that pro football teams stay at Marriott's because of Sam Huff, that's the business side of it. I grew up in the dumb jock era where somebody said, really, I played the sport they regard as the dumbest sport,
right.
To play football. And then so when I see a guy who's an executive with Marriott and they get it, and to see their growth in the company, and because of that had an influence on me. And so I appreciated it. And it was, I never say they're fun. I just say I walked out of there feeling better than I did when I walked into it.
And that's when somebody had a life worth celebrating. So
yeah,
let's turn to the football team and the product in the field. All this attrition going on and what they have, what all these players they lost. What is a challenge? What challenge does that pose as we go down? There's 4 games left. They still have a shot at the playoffs. They still control their destiny. But how much will that impact of that attrition make?
Well, that's on them. We saw how they reacted to losing 2 of their prize bulls, the defensive ends. They're young. And again, and I'm guilty of this as well. When they're going and making plays, we go, wow, but they're still young.
Right.
And so they got to learn the game. They're going to make mistakes. They put a C on one of their chests. I think I would never do that. It's not fair to him. Right. But they do it over and over because they equate success with leadership. It has nothing to do with it. Leadership means I'll never have to tell you where to be. You're already there. Leadership means you're going to be vaccinated because your coach coming off cancer.
Right.
So it just makes sense. That's leadership. I can't blame them because they're young. Right. But I damn sure wouldn't let young people dictate my program. You would be on Zoom. You wouldn't be in my building. Or you wouldn't get paid. Or you'd be on IR. Whatever it took, I would have a 0 policy. Period. I don't care who you are. Because you got to think of the masses, not an individual, not because they're celebrities or they're stars. It just infuriates me here. This is basic. It's a team effort. We make no exceptions. If my coach could participate with cancer and not miss work and lead, then I expect the rest of you to do your damn job.
How do you think that rubs off on other players? Because early, and I know like some of we're talking about, obviously guys being, getting COVID, some of whom were vaccinated, some of whom were not. But the bottom line is their player losses. So early in August or whatever, players would say,
we were the worst. No, John.
Yeah, no,
we
right.
were the worst.
We're the worst. And then they were the worst. And then but then they got better. But what you also heard at that time were players saying, hey, it's their choice, it's their choice. Do you think they'd have a different song now? Because especially in Montez's case, again, whatever anybody thinks of it, he chose not to, and then he's got it. Now others chose to get it and they still got it, or chose to get the vaccine, but they'll be out a shorter period of time. So, but I am curious, if you're another player, how do you view it now that, you're losing guys and you're 4 games left and you have a shot at the playoffs?
I don't know how, I can't speak for how they run their team. I'm just saying, to me, leadership.
But if you're a fellow player, if you're a player,
I have a problem with it. I have a problem with you affecting my family's livelihood. And if you made more than me and you had more money, that's human nature. I'd go, how dare you jeopardize my family in that? And your family might be better off because you have a higher platform. But see, that doesn't happen with teams because the leadership would never allow that to happen. We're one. We all take one step. It would never happen. You think if Joe Gibbs had cancer, I wouldn't have gotten vaccinated? I would have done that out of love of him, even if I didn't believe into it. Do we think our EMTs, our fire, our rescue, our Marines, our Navy, do you think they're coming up there making those individual decisions? No, because they represent the flag. So they have it's bigger than them. That's what it's called, team. And that's why it's ridiculous. And then we were in last place in training camp. It's ridiculous. And so as a byproduct, now the rest of the league is suffering from still scatter. Guess what? I don't give a damn about the rest of the league. All I'd be concerned about, burgundy and gold. And it wasn't handled well from the start. And this is a byproduct of it.
So how many player losses are too much for a team to maintain a certain level of play, do you think?
Well, the league's gonna make money because TV. So they suit me and you up if they had to get their share of that royalty. Dude, nobody's gonna stop. This train's going. But when it gets to SoFi and the Super Bowl, watch what happens in those 2 weeks. And this is what everybody's nightmare is. What about if it happens to a quarterback?
Right.
What about if it's Tom Brady? See, but this is what their organization, first of all, Tom would never allow it to happen because he's the ultimate leader. Even if he don't believe in it, maybe even if against goes all about that, he understands he's the leader. And that's what leadership is all about. The fact that we're having this conversation is not a good sign for the overall leadership.
Yeah. And you know, again, my concern or question would be product on the field and the impact. Just, you know, there are guys with torn ACLs and there's guys with concussions who may not play. How much is too much for a team to handle when it comes to player losses, whether it's injury or whatever?
Well, it's going to be balanced on the opponent because Philadelphia's going to have, it's not like they're coming up from another country and then no, they got the same thing we've got.
Right.
And they're going to have some jerk is going to show up late and may get suspended or be disciplined. That's what this race is all about. My 53 plus a practice squad against yours. My general manager, my players, my scouts, our intel. It's just like our offensive line. Look at all the change. Look at the job John has done.
Yeah,
I mean,
doing a great job.
I can't tell who's in the game. He's on his fourth center.
It's amazing.
You know why I can't tell? Because there's no high snaps. There's no dribbling snaps. There's no free runners. They're tight ends and offensive line and running backs because, hey, he's had to coach wide receivers. Let's not lessen the fact that we came up with this Smithsonian report that we're going to transfer wideouts to running back. Okay, it's worked out. The guy's pretty good, but it's still for the coach. If you're Jordan,
Randy Jordan's done a good job because he's still listen.
I'm telling your wife, hey, babe, Dave, good God Almighty.
Well, he is still teaching him how to play the position. And I will say, like before the draft, even Gibson's agent said every team looks at him as a running back. But you still have to coach him hard to be a running back because there's still things that you hear them talking about that he's still having to work with. That is like, okay, this is a running back education here. And Randy's done a good job with that. He's got an undrafted free agent, Jared Patterson, who has contributed when he's been in there.
But he's a running back.
But he's
a
running
DNA running back.
Correct. And you can see the difference. And there are times with Antonio where they're having to deal with shoulder lean, body lean, getting your running below.
Pass pro. Listen, if I'm playing against you, that's what Dallas did. Sick the dogs, A-gap him, and make him prove.
And they did. And there have been times where he's handled it. And I give that's credit to him.
He's good.
And credit to But then Micah got him the other day on one. And so, but you're right. He is a work in progress. And I think one of the things that benefits him is that he hasn't played it, so he doesn't have the wear and tear on him, that if they can get him to a certain point, he could be really good for a few years in a multi-dimensional role.
Yeah, McKissick in his show.
Yeah,
everybody has to play shorthanded. I didn't hear anybody crying for Dallas last year. I mean, some of our fans still took credit for a sweep. I never acknowledged it because it didn't count to me. Prescott wasn't playing. I'm not going to brag. You need to wear glasses to see. I take your glasses off. You can't read. Am I going to say that, oh, John's a dum-dum? No, I'm going to say he didn't have his glasses on. So I didn't count last year at all. It meant nothing to me. I don't brag on beating you shorthanded. I want every starter to play. Yeah. I want you 100%. Then I can relish in beating your ass. See, that's the whole difference. These guys are young. See, they're growing. And we just had 4 weeks where we were patting on the back. I didn't have vomit in my mouth for a month. And everything was good. And then all of a sudden we got a big game. and all the DC Dallas Nation, because that's what I call them,
right.
DC Dallas Nation, they come out, yeah, full force. And I thought, we got them. And then, I'm going to bring my own sideline bench with the Cowboy logo. And the head coach says, yeah, we're going to beat them. I go, wow, are they cocky or not? We're going to jump. And then what happened? We come out flat.
Yeah.
So
they admitted that too.
They did. And they also, they shows resilience.
Yeah.
And I think 8 dropped the dime on one, and he dropped.
Oof. Yeah, that was tough.
And the forward pass, don't think I didn't see the trajectory and I didn't see the velocity, and I'm going, give me more him. I want to use him in concert. If Taylor is hurt, then what the hell is the benefit? He's a leg man, and I want him to even run more. I wish he would run more. Now, if he's hurt, there's no way in the hell I'm putting him out there.
Well, the problem was the other day too, he was late on a lot of things. And he was off on a lot of things. And that's where I say, like, when Kyle Allen throws a different ball, and I don't, they're not going to bench him. So, it is what it is. But, and I thought Taylor.
Whoa, time out. What do you mean? It's not about benching him. He's injured. No, if he's healthy.
Oh, yeah.
I keep going with it. No, he's earned that.
All right, good. I just wanted to clear that up.
No.
That's fine. And I'm with you on that. Yeah.
He's earned that.
So if he's hurt, then yes.
You know what he does?
Yes. Yeah.
He gives the lead. They are so void of what he has.
He's
got
spark.
that it thing.
Yeah, he gives a spark.
He's a leader. And they don't have a lot of leaders. I don't give a damn what anybody says. This team right now, they couldn't lead me. All I'm saying is that he's a leader. They need what he has. He
has a swag to him too. And I like with the hard part for Taylor is when he looks bad, he can look really bad because there are parts of it he has to play with. For them to maximize his ability, they have to play from ahead because then he doesn't feel the need to force throws, and he forced a lot of throws. But I don't think that he said his knee is not the issue, so we'll see. But yes, if he can't use his legs, I'm with you. Then that renders him more ineffective. So I would be with you there. I just to clear that up with what we were going.
Oh no, I'm saying Billy Kilmer didn't get style point, but guess who he was compared to? Sonny Jurgensen.
Right.
So Sonny's a 10 on style points, but I tell you what the Bruin had, heart.
Mm-hmm.
Heart. That's what I ain't never going against him on that unless he's injured. He did not run. I think he is predetermining his read options.
Yeah.
Which hurt him 2 weeks ago. I think he's trying to preserve himself. It ain't about you, Taylor. If you nicked, you got to move out, not just for the moment, because the other guy's got a gun and he can move too. Well, it's not personal. I just need to score. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
These guys, it's all about separate agendas, not just trying to promote. I'm not trying to promote anything but a W.
Well, the hard part for Taylor, and I know this mindset, which he was out of the league for a couple of years, in his mind's like, if I relinquish any snaps, it could cost me. And the other thing, to your point, I was going to ask you about this too, going back to what you said about him. When he's hurt and leaving the field, one of the Dallas defensive linemen came up to him, talked to him for a second, and pats him on the helmet. Like, it was to me, that was you don't see that. Exactly. So that's what, even though he had a bad day, I'm thinking this guy, to me, that said something.
Competitor. It's like Joe Theismann, our quarterback. He was obviously far more talented, but he was the competitiveness. It happens with people whose stature, if you're 6'2" or under, and then he's got but he plays big. But Joe had a gun. Joe, we're in a passing league. It's football. Right. So I equate it to a quarterback that may not have those to an NBA player that doesn't shoot well. Don't mean that Westbrook is not a hell of a basketball player.
Right.
They don't shoot well.
Right.
So I don't want Westbrook to have the ball in his hands if we're down to crunch. Well, if he's my quarterback, what do I do? Well, you're in a problem. You got a problem because it's a Westbrook situation. Yeah, he can give you a triple-double. He can help you do all that, but he can't shoot.
Right.
And he can't shoot. So you got a guy, if I'm playing you, man, I'm going to blitz him. I'm going to force him around. Then I'm going, well, that's when he's at his best, when he's moving. But it's inconsistent. We just don't know. but we do know. We just don't want to admit it. And I hope to God that we're not going after this folk hero crap, because we're the biggest marketing brand on earth. So we'll take them, we can move that. No, we can't. We got to win the game. If we win the game, then we can market him as much as you want to market him.
Winning is all what ultimately that's what matters. So yeah, and I think for the fans here, when people say, well, how can you get him back to FedEx? Win. I mean, I know there's other things that people complain about, but it starts with winning. Like, if fans say, I'm not going to go there until this guy sells the team, I'm not going to go there until they do this. Well, test that theory, win some games, have a couple have not just a 9-8 season, have a couple really good seasons back to back. And then if they don't show up, then you've got a problem. They have test that theory about when they would or wouldn't show up, right?
I agree.
They haven't done it.
Yeah, they were talking about the Dallas fans. Well, we travel well too. My memory is still pretty good.
Yeah.
We invade.
Look at Vegas. Vegas. Jeez.
Yeah, we invade.
Every game.
I tell you what, now I caution you, leave Philly out of the equation. It's not safe. I don't ever tell people, don't send your loved ones. And I hate the fact that I have to make the disclaimer and that the NFL is gutless and the Philadelphia Police Department is gutless, that they allow these thugs to intimidate people and get away with it. But they do, and they get away with it. It is what it is.
How do you think Rivera has handled this season?
Well, it's challenging. I think challenging because I think Ron just got healthy like 3 weeks ago to where his own personal energy.
Yeah.
And I've said, I admire what he has done under the circumstances. So I put an asterisk by it because, my God, but his staff, I'm sure they volunteered. He's a linebacker, man. He's not going to wilt. So he keeps going. But since he's been throwing that stone and since he's done walking up that sidelines, talking in tongues, that's the Ron Rivera I know.
You like that rock throwing?
I like Ron being Ron.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's it. Now, whether it's rocks or whatever it does, he's got something about him that players understand it's time to go do this thing. And when he speaks in tongues and starts being himself with the level of energy, that's the guy. The other guy, I don't know. I don't know. But it's up to the players. And I think they're willing to I keep saying, man, they'll do anything for him. Then I go, oh, but get vaccinated. Or, oh, but do this. See, so talk is cheap. Ron is no stranger to December. I think these guys love him. Now they got to show it. It ain't about talk. Go out and cover kicks. Carter, return the ball. You gifted. Come out of there like a bat out of hell. See, we're so used to Nelms and Mitchell. All of our success in our successful years have always had a unique individual with returns. We got to have that. He's it. I thought he was shorter. I thought he didn't pull the trigger against Dallas.
And he's got a lot of ability there, and I still think he'll probably break another one this year.
I do too.
I think he's got that ability. One thing after the game, and I had a couple of people comment to me on this, is when Ron said, "Hey, that game was a tale of two halves." Do you think that was? Did you see improvement in the second half, whether it's offensively and all that, to where it was that? Do you think that was just coach speak? What would you be saying to your team privately about that game to make sure something like so it doesn't start like that again?
Well, I think he said it at halftime because they started off awful. And for them to be flattened up, here's another thing. He took responsibility. He said what I've been praying for all of them to say throughout the organization. I'm the head coach. It's on me. I didn't have him ready because he establishes the fact that he's the guy. He's the straw that turns the drink. They embarrassed him in the first half. And guess what they did? They came out roaring in the second half to make up for it, but they didn't win the game. Because if they've won ugly before, we just said about Atlanta, that was an ugly win.
Right.
They've had an ugly win. We go, oh, it's over. We won. But if they come up short and you lose, now we dissect it. Now we got to bag the flag glasses on. Same thing. We've looked ugly in one. We could have come back on that one. It would have been a great win, but an ugly start. Mm-hmm. And you played, their superstars were limping. You let Dax and Zeke get away with average performances. Right. And I think this defense played really well all game. Yes, they did. They held him to
Mhm.
3 in the first drive. And, 29 has a ball in his
Oh
hand.
man, they should have been picked. Yeah. He played it great. He played it great.
Played it great. And then, and then he dropped it. And so we got his drop. That's a drop.
Yeah.
Carter, that's a drop.
Yeah.
A miss is different.
Jamin drops
A miss
one too.
A
Jamin,
drop.
Yeah,
That's like
Doc, think about those. They had 2 drops that led that on those drives, extended drives, and they got 6 points out of those drives because 2 field goals, Jamin, and then Kendall. And Kendall played a good game. He did.
Yeah.
But he dropped it. And then, it's too bad. It's like, I mean, he was in perfect position. He reacted well. I was just watching that play again this morning. Nice job. Yeah. And it was just, I mean, I like Kendall as a player. So, but
I love Kendall as a player.
And he'll say the same thing. He dropped it. What are you going to do?
Yeah, but he didn't play. Kendall to me is a Pro Bowl talent. We can't be good unless he's that. He's too good. He's been
playing really well the last half of the year.
Oh man, his instinct, he's coming back. Other thing was that on the screen that was tipped and intercepted, because we don't get that cut block. That's a fundamental. Your job is when we say cut a guy, that means we need his hands down.
Right.
Okay. Now
he got him lowered.
He got
a
bump. That's not good enough.
How hard is it to get a guy like that down? And not just to make an excuse, but that's a really good player. And like you see guys, the Montez or Chase, when they're going right and they beat that cut block. How hard is it to get a guy down in that situation?
It's hard to get an athlete there, but with our guys sharp.
And I'm not trying to make excuses for them.
No, they're long. They got to get the job done. Like, in other words, that's your assignment. If you get that play,
that's a touchdown.
May score. It was wide open. Turner, we'd be saying, hey, coach, what about Coach Turner? What a play call. Lack of execution. Then we get our two prize bulls line up offsides on defense.
We're
not good enough to spot teams' yardage and give them field position, to drop interceptions and to blow plays that might have blown up. Now, do we give the opponent credit? Yeah, they got some people back.
They dropped a few picks too. They dropped even more picks.
The guy, and look, I just sent a check to the kid in Vegas because if he dropped the pick 6 at the end, we're living. Listen, that's why I should never even get angry, because we are so fortunate to be where we are, because between Heineke and Gibson, they've given so much away in turnovers and potential turnovers. I can't even be angry. I really can't.
Do you know what the thing that for me going forward, what has been the most important thing is the development of the defense and how well they've played, because that has to be your bedrock moving forward. That's where your talent is. That's where you're closer to being a really, really, really good group. So if they had struggled all year, to me, there's a massive problem. But they haven't. They've gotten better. And so that's one of the things that whatever happens in the next 4 games, that's a positive development in this season to move forward. So you know that, hey, you've got this side of the ball almost where you want it.
Yeah. John, I call it fertilizer. We've already started fertilizing in 2022 because Chase, he's fertilizing. I mean, these guys, we're going to get back. It looked like Rouillet. I get giddy just thinking about the fertilizer that we're putting out there for the next campaign.
Well, there's young guys getting experience. Yeah.
Smith Williams, perfect example.
To
me, that was a tragic loss.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Tragic loss. That dude is playing.
He's tough.
He sets the edge. Mm-hmm. He gives you consistent pressure. Dak couldn't get out of his own way. We gave up 3 sacks.
Yeah.
That we just didn't have enough pressure. Now, they did a good job, but then I could say, hey, hold it. Dallas played without their guys for 3 weeks to 4 weeks. So just go with whoever's in the uniform who picks up a check on Mondays is paid to do their job.
Yeah.
So
it's opportunity. Well, and to me, if I'm a coach, the number one thing I'm going to tell a guy, and I think Rivera has pretty much done this, hey, you're missing. This is your chance. This league is full of guys who got their chance and succeeded, and now you can make your money. So go ahead and do it. That's the only way to pitch it. I do think at some point when you have so many of those guys, it's difficult. But what are your expectations? Last thing, your expectations for this week, for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, again, and you know me well enough, we can only look at Philadelphia. To me, this is a season ender. I thought had we beaten Dallas, we would given ourselves a little bit of breathing room.
Right.
But right now, we're already in the playoffs. I said it last week. What are we talking about? We're in the playoffs now. We need to go out every week as single elimination, win or die. And for us to be, and I love Sheehan, you know, we both love him. I couldn't wait to hear a scenario about, he was listening to something ESPN you guys have called some kind of playoff wheel or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am in tears laughing because he loves this stuff. If that, he's the best in the world at it. I don't even think about it. All I care about, Ron Rivera's job and Jack Del Rio's job is to get these guys to realize that if they don't win, they walk home. They don't even get an airplane ride home. In other words, we'll leave you in Philadelphia. We have to go there with the idea that it's win or die. And if he can't get his team ready for that, then they're all done. Then stick a fork in them, because it's not going to matter that way. Because Dallas and everybody, it won't matter. And that's what he's got to get him to do. And he didn't get it done last week because they came out looking like they were dumb Dora. So they got to take it personal. It ain't about skiing. And it's about kicking Philadelphia's behind because they can. And if they do that, then we'll get ready for Dallas week again.
Doc, you got me fired up, ready to go. How's that? I'm ready to go.
John.
So, you know, they might call us. Listen, I had a dream about a month ago that the Chiefs wanted to sign me as a safety. I'm like, what do they want to sign me for? But they're going to pay me $600,000, so I'm going to do it. But I'm too old to play safety anymore. But I was going to do it. It was a dream.
John, the checks that those guys pick up on Monday.
That's when you know the season's too long for me.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't think I could get through pregame warm-up, but I tell you what, for those checks that they pick up on every other Monday, I would die trying.
In my dream, I had to weigh that 600,000 versus I could get killed by one guy running me over. Just grab the legs, but I could get killed doing that. So
yeah, and don't close your eyes. Don't drop your head.
Right. No.
Keep your eyes open.
I know what my job is. Just get them down, baby. Get them down.
That's it.
But if I survive, then we'll see. Doc, tell people where they can find you now.
John, patreon.com. It's patreon.com/Doc Walker. The podcast, we're having some fun, man. We're getting close to the John Keim in your podcast and what you've been doing. I'm just following, but it's real. But again, it's a disclosure on mine. We're not for everybody. We got like the Surgeon General patch. You might not be, it's not for everybody. But if you feel like you're real and you can take it, we'd love to take a shot at you.
That's why I have you on, Doc. You're the best. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it, dog. God bless. Happy holidays.